Hi everyone, I'm reporting to you about day 3, 4, and 5 of my amazing Galapagos adventure. Day 3, we went from Genovesa Island in the top right to that island in the middle, Santiago, where you see the black words Puerto Egas. That's where we ended up. I want to point out those top two islands, the Pinta and the Marchena, are not where boats dock. Those are scuba diving sites. So you can see our crude little picture that Patricia drew for us every day. We're right there in the middle in Santiago. This is what the landscape looks like. It's always a bit overcast in the Galapagos Islands, and you can see one of the cruise ships in the back there. There were about 3 cruise ships that we all kind of traveled together on these 8-day cruises, and our cruise ship is a little bit over to the right. You can't see it in this picture, but just wanted you to see the landscape. We're going to watch this for a few minutes. It's just amazing. We could just stand there. There's no fence in between us and them. And so I'm just going to let you see what we saw with the iguanas, the fur seals or sea lions. I have a hard time telling the difference. But they're coming out of the water here, bringing a little baby seal along, and the other one decided to stay in the pool. It's amazing, these sea lions, they look so clumsy and like it's such a great effort for them to walk on land with their flippers, but when they are underwater they just twist and turn, and they're so agile, and they do somersaults, and they're really fast. So in a few minutes you're going to see in this video, I videotaped some sea lions swimming with us as we're snorkeling, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Go back over and see what the little babies are doing. Just chilling out. The iguana's making his way over too. And here's a picture of all of us cruise ships docked at this site. We are truly far away from all civilization. This is just a pretty landscape photo of where we were. And notice the movement on the left side of the screen. You've got an iguana down there, you've got a sea lion way back there, and this little baby, I think these are fur seal instead of sea lions, but the little baby is playing with the iguana tail. That iguana never moved. I know. There's probably about 15 marine iguanas sitting up there in a little colony. And I'm not zooming in, that's exactly how far away I was. After about 2 or 3 days, we were all kind of roughing it. Pardon my appearance in this picture. I just think it's a pretty landscape picture with the iguanas in the background. And notice how the iguana is shaking his head. That's a male marine iguana, and the head shaking is a territorial thing. He's basically telling us to back off. And they do that to each other as well, and they also headbutt. A picture of the landscape where we were walking. We were walking with Keen's shoes directly on these lava rocks. And this was just mesmerizing. If I'd had a tailgate chair, an umbrella, and a book, I could have sat out there and watched this all day long. Just looks very otherworldly. Look at the iguana coming out of the water. These are all active volcanoes all around us. The most recent volcano eruption was in 2008, I believe she said. And Patricia said if any of these volcanoes starts to erupt, we're getting the hell out of here. This next clip is called Darwin's Toilet. Flush. Oop, oop, it's a double flusher. Here's the sea lion. Snorkeling nipples. Look at that. Amazing. So fast. So we are going from that middle island, Santiago, all the way around the Seahorse Head to Isabela Island in an area called Punto Vicente Roca. And we sailed all afternoon and all night for this one. And we crossed the equator for the third time. You see all the numbers at the top are set to 0. That's crossing the equator. We were all standing there with our cameras to take a picture. And at 6 a.m., as we were nearing our site, the crew woke us up to come out and see all these dolphins.
Oh my gosh!
These dolphins were all around us, and my camera's a little bit shaky. Sorry about that. The boat was all over the place, and so was I. But these dolphins were just like springboarding out of the water. So that morning, we were in Punto Vicente, which you can't see on here, but it's up at the Seahorse Mouth. And this was just a dinghy ride. And so we just kind of rode around and looked at some of the wildlife. These here are blue-footed boobies. I was kind of disappointed because we never really got that close to blue-footed boobies, and that was something I was really looking forward to seeing. But the blue-footed boobies were either flying in the air or swimming or up on a ledge like this, and we couldn't really see them. Now this is the coolest. We saw a sea lion feeding on a parrotfish. And a parrotfish, if you'll remember, was the kind of fish that made the sand. Their excrement made the sand upon one of the former beaches that we were at. And so we just watched the sea lion go to town on this parrotfish. It was really funny. The snorkeling was awesome today. We saw all these amazing fish, and then, hello. This was the first time that I saw an iguana underwater, and actually it's the only time I saw an iguana underwater. The iguana feed on the algae on the rocks, and I don't think anybody the entire trip actually saw an iguana underwater while we were snorkeling. So I really love this picture. And this is the first sea turtle that I saw underwater, and then bam, he was right there swimming with me, swimming at me, and then I had to actually get out of his way. And then he was leading the way, and I was kind of following him for a little bit, but he was really fast. Last place we went on day 4 was a place called Tagas Cove, and there was graffiti even in Tagas Cove, even the Galapagos Islands. And this is actually a place where pirates used to be, and so you can see the graffiti from pirates. They used to hide their gold here. But the only really thing that we saw there was a place called Darwin's Lake, and that's this lake here, and it's all salt, and there's really nothing could live there. It was actually kind of an uneventful walk. And then this was the view from the very top, and that's just kind of what Galapagos Islands look like. It's not the Hawaiian tropical forest or tropical paradise that I thought it was going to be. So it's just kind of dry and barren. Day 5 was my favorite day. We started off at the top of Fernandina Island there at a place called Punto Espinosa, which is just to the left of the Seahorse Island chest. And what we saw there was lava rock filled with the marine iguanas. And the dinghy boat dropped us off at that little bridge that you see there in the middle. was really awesome. It was like this little forest area that we came out on. And that's me about 2 feet away from a marine iguana to your left on the driftwood. And that's about as close as we're allowed to get to the animals, and he didn't mind me at all. And here's a Sally Lightfoot crab close-up view. And then if you'll see, these are 2 little hermit crabs, Galapagos Island hermit crabs, down at the bottom, and then up at the top in the little canal. That's about as big as they get. That's me on the lava rock, and behind me are about 100 marine iguanas. Really cool. This is what the terrain looked like in Punta Espinosa. I've talked about how Galapagos Islands just looks kind of otherworldly. This is one example. It looked like a completely different planet. Crevices everywhere. We were walking in Keen shoes. That's a Galapagos cactus growing there. And this is a lava lizard. And the sound of walking on this lava rock was like the sound of terracotta pots rubbing together. And this is a picture of me next to the surf. I just thought that was a really neat looking area with black sand. And here are our little sea lions. And they're saying to the little baby sea lion, "You have had enough milk. That is enough." The surf in the background is really pretty. These are little baby marine iguanas, and they hide or they sunbathe over here near the crevices so that they can hide in the crevices if predators come around. And you'll see them climbing on each other's backs. That's so that they can warm up their bellies. And they were just really cute to look at. They're little itty bitty. So this is the coolest thing that we saw on the whole trip. Upon first glance, we thought, and our guide thought, Patricia, thought that this was 2 marine iguanas mating. But when we got up closer, we realized that one of the iguanas was dead. The one that the big one is holding on to is dead. And the bigger one was just holding on for dear life, and we didn't know, our guide in 18 years had never seen that before. And so she didn't know if he was going to die with that one or just hang on for a little bit longer. It was really sad. So the second place we went on day 5 was Urbina Bay, and that is on the seahorse chest there in the middle. And I'm sorry, I know the animation is blurry. I have to make the pictures animated for the video to work. So it's in the middle of the seahorse chest there. And this was where we saw land iguanas. And land iguanas are different from marine iguanas in that they don't travel in colonies. They are independent and they hide in these little huts to keep warm. And you might have 1 male to 3 females, but that's how they are. And they really blend into their surroundings. There's one dead ahead there in the middle of the leaves that you can't even really see. And there's a full-on picture of one. I thought these were really pretty. And here we go, our first sighting of a giant tortoise. This was the only place that we went where we saw giant tortoises in the wild. The other places that we went were tortoise breeding grounds. So this was a really neat place. If you go on a cruise, you want to make sure you go to Urbina Bay. And then this is the end of this excursion where we saw the sea turtle tracks, and those indentations are where the sea turtles lay their eggs. This is the end of day 5.